All right, so just a note, there's a lot of content on here. There is a website that is going to be launching shortly with the content. I want to walk you through the journey of the last 3 months. I was invited in June to speak at TMLS, and on the impact of agents on us, I had a lot of opinions, but not much information. And so I didn't know how it was actually affecting us. If I was going to stand up in front of people, I wanted to know, how is the current AI summer affecting us, affecting our relationships? How do I get past the headlines and close to what's actually happening? And in order to do that, I started chatting with people in my network, but I explicitly, and there were people who were upset about this, did not talk to CEOs or CTOs or anybody I could find their view in TechCrunch or any other place. Transformative technologies take longer than we expect, years longer. So in the future, I'm going to expand this, but I want to talk to you about what I actually managed to do in the time I had allotted to me. So by the time of the panel, I had talked to 15 people, and then I just kept going. The list of 10 questions I had initially evolved into a survey, which I'll talk you through in a minute. But this is what it ended up being. 80 plus people, 60 plus organizations, 10 countries, you can read them there, 10 different industries. I had to type this because a lot of this was done with the condition of anonymity. So the first conversation, the guy said, no agents. And he came and sat down next to me and said, let me see what you're typing. So I typed a book, folks. That's a book right there, all right? On the left-hand side are the personas. When we were looking at risk, one of the questions talked about risk, and people really struggled with this. In order to give them a sense of this, I use this framework. What's imagined, no evidence for, what's imminent, and what's immediate, like we know this is happening right now. This is the survey framework. I know it looks complicated. Each of the boxes, so I started with framing, and then the paths show how, depending on what people asked, I actually responded, all right? And went through, so it's sort of like a choose your own adventure. So you can see, I started off by trying to get people to tell me how to describe themselves and their jobs and what AI meant, and then we actually got down to like career advice, some very interesting conversations from people in research about what was exciting them about what came next. We talked about the skills. We talked about, was this actually changing their hiring plans, not in a theoretical way, but in an actual way. So here's an example of one of the summaries. I'm working on the format, but headlines for financial services and accounting. What are the highlights here? You can see there's low engagement personally, which I thought interesting, so people weren't using this at home. Some engagement professionally. Remember, this is aggregate. Some people were higher than others, right? But a lot of their understanding of what the risks were actually pretty, I would say, more germane. Worried about their families and things like this. So here's an example of the profiles I'm going to put up. I don't think I understand the full cost of the technology. I'm worried about us losing our problem-solving skills. This is a personal appeal from the accountant, was that he'd actually been using GenAI quite a bit, and then actually felt like he was losing touch with what he could do. And then I got a lot of these, where people started talking about the risks that they actually saw and what they were feeling. Let's move into a bit more fundamental. These are people in foundation labs, people in defense, the military, in various countries, including here. And I found this interesting because there was almost no engagement personally. They weren't using it at home. They had a very sophisticated understanding of what was going on with AI. And so you can see here the definition. You can read it yourself. I want to separate AI from ML. The second statement, we shouldn't be scared of AI itself, but we should be worried about people using AI in situations that aren't appropriate. And tick, 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 too much time for this slide. I'll talk some more. Or maybe I'll just count it down. Okay, there we go. So in aggregate, these were the sentiments. What is everybody else doing? Is anyone succeeding? Of the 80+ recipients, only 3 were seeing real ROI or bottom line changes. What are they doing differently if they're succeeding? What are the risks? Where do I go for help? What can I do to avoid locking myself in? And the last one was the hardest one. Give me a balanced perspective about the future. Sure, no problem. So there were far more results than this. This is a lightning talk, and things are changing. Before I had finished the first cohort, I had people calling me back saying, hey, Graham, this has changed. So everything's up. This website just has a landing page now. I'm going to launch this by the end of the week. Conversations about AI, and hopefully you can take a look and maybe explore your journey. I'm going to give you opportunities to take part. Thank you so much for your time.